This is What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta Dumelang, how's it? Welcome to Wow What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks. Another installment, another week. Wow, what a week. Botsang Modimowame Moiloa is in the house, my partner in crime, rhyme, grime, and politics.
Good morning, Tato, and good morning to the followers, subscribers, and viewers.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow, what a week in the world.
It doesn't get dull.
Now, I think we may start having 2 episodes per week if all goes well.
You know, I feel like we are living a daily soapy,
And
we are all in it.
And people don't realize that the arrival of Donald Trump in world politics, the return of the Trump, has actually affected and impacted all of us.
Mark my words, guys. Hitler 2.0 is the direction Trump is going. No. Mark my words.
Wow.
Hitler started like this. He started like this.
And nobody believed him.
He started like this. Before we knew it, we were like, how? What happened?
Let's get to the topics before the reverse triangle us.
The world is about to see a dictator at a level it has never known before.
The signs are already there, Tato.
Anyway, so Papa is coming home so that he can go deeper. The Bushiri extradition. He needs to come back home to face charges. It's a serious raft of charges. Him and his mama. What's at stake and what should happen? And do you think he will come home?
Well, Fresh, let me answer the last question. I don't think he will come to South Africa. And if he comes, it is going to be in his terms. And I'll tell you why.
Can't we do like the Israelis and just abduct him and bring him back?
And then we are a constitutional democracy. The courts are not going to allow that.
Don't start do that. If we need you, you're coming.
You know this thing of extradition, it reminded me the Thabo Bester and Maguluma Nasaka and all that.
Yeah, was he not abducted?
Yeah, that was an abduction. It was not an extradition.
Yeah.
Now we are following proper Department of Justice criminal procedures and all the conventions. We are following things properly.
Can't we have him back in the country and we say, just like we don't know how he left, we don't know how he came back?
The reason I actually raised this topic, I listened to our friend Minister Mamulu Kukubai
yes,
saying, we have done our part as justice. Now it is in the hands of the NPA and the police to go get him and come and charge him. And I said, no, Minister Mukubai, don't get too excited. It doesn't work like that. Number one, the South African Police Service, we must not pull a Becky Kele on this one. The South African Police Service, and I've been telling them, they do not have jurisdiction and or powers to can arrest outside the borders of this country.
Sure, that's why you have Interpol.
Yes, it must be done by Interpol. And somebody said, yeah, but South Africa is a member of Interpol. And I clarified it again to say, if the case is not listed on Interpol for Bushiri to be a wanted person, South Africa cannot ask Interpol to act.
Unless Malawi say, okay, we will deliver him to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the first part, which is also very important.
Yeah.
The second part also is, the only thing that has happened so far, Tato, is that the magistrate court,
and it's a lower court, mostly.
Yeah, magistrate court in Malawi has agreed that he can be extradited to South Africa. There are 2 or 3 other things that must happen before the extradition.
Sure.
One, he's already appealing the magistrate court decision at the higher court. That's the first part, and that's expected.
He's also appealing to a lot of gullible people, but anyway, carry on.
The second part is, before he comes to South Africa, and this is what I want to bring to the attention of the viewers, there's something very important. His lawyers have done 2 important things. One, they've already approached the NPA in South Africa to drop some of the charges. Okay. And this is done behind the scenes. It's not in the media, but I reliably learned. For example, serious charges of sexual abuse or rape or whatever that were, they've been dropped. So should he come to South Africa, he'll be coming only to face the charge of fraud and maladministration and money laundering and all those, and taking people's money we invested in the church, which are minor charges if you compare to sexual, molestation and all that. That's why. There's another critical one that becomes political. People who studied law, who have been in courts like me many times, they will tell you that courts, before they get to the meat of any case, there's something they call preliminary matters. They call them matters in limine or facts in limine. So what you hear first. One of the first things that's going to be heard in Bushiri's case, it's the forfeiture of his bail, and him and Umama, the wife, they forfeited their bail. Remember, because in inverted commas records, they escaped the country while they were on bail.
Yes.
Now, Bushiri has put that as a preliminary matter that needs to be addressed. To say, I didn't run away. The South African government that wants to prosecute me and take my bail money and charge me for skipping bail, they facilitated my move outside South Africa. Now it's becoming interesting.
Hold on. So the conspiracy that he was assisted and possibly left on a Malawian jet even, because remember the president was here.
Yes.
For Malawi.
Yes.
All of a sudden the president of Malawi is gone. And Bushiri is gone.
Yeah, and where did he take off the jet? He didn't take off at the Johannesburg International Airport.
So is this him threatening to spill beans?
It's him saying, I want my bail money. I didn't escape bail. The South African authorities, they knew and they facilitated my move. That is his defense in court, or it's going to be his defense.
So those that facilitated must face the music, but the bail must still be forfeited.
If he can prove in front of a court that he didn't escape, he didn't break his bail, the authorities facilitated his move.
But he was not abducted either. He was a willing passenger and a willing part of the plan.
And you see, Fresh, that's what makes the problem. He was a willing part of the plan, facilitated by who? By the South African government, by the authorities. According to him, these are allegations that he's making.
Yeah.
So you can't want me to say I'm losing and forfeiting my bail and I must be charged and arrested for skipping bail when your other arm of the state has aided me to leave. I listen to the government. The government says, no, you can leave. The other part of the government says, no, you must stay. So which part of the government do I listen to? It's the same government. And these are some of the things that I think Bushiri is going to put in front of the appeal court in Malawi to say, but it is the South African government that let me go. They even aided me. They even come and handed me over my passport in the plane when I was sitting down. And protocol was followed. I was treated VIP.
And as a magistrate, I would argue that, but you are a fugitive running away from the law. So those that facilitated or aided you leaving the country must face that separate music.
Exactly. If that's the case.
You still have a song to dance to. So you can't say because there's music playing next door that's loud, you can't be charged for being a nuisance.
Anyway, but those are things that Bushiri is going to put before the extradition in front of the court. Even if he's extradited, he will have to put it in front of the South African court to say, I didn't run away. So I want my bail money and I'm here to face the music, which has been negotiated and toned down. Trust me, this case, in my view, is going to collapse before it even, stand up on its feet. Or
do you think
it's going to be a very minor thing where he will be penalized to pay monies and leave the country or come back and live in South Africa?
Do you think it will collapse for legal reasons or it will collapse for political reasons?
I think because it will be presented in a court of law, in order not to embarrass the country politically, the case will collapse. I think so. I think in order not to embarrass political office bearers or politicians, that case will collapse in front of the court. The court will say lack of evidence, and then the case will collapse. Because if that's not the case, then somebody must face the music. You remember the Gupta's case with the gentleman who facilitated the landing of the Gupta's aircraft? What happened to the gentleman? He became South Africa's ambassador to the Netherlands.
That time we have a diplomat here who's
looking for a job.
Who's looking for a job.
This is our country, my brother.
Do you agree with Botsang? Or is he talking a whole lot of bullshit? That is the question. Let's go to the DRC.
Yes, sir.
Why are the Arabs seemingly the solution to this impasse between the DRC and Rwanda?
Tato, I don't think the Arabs seem to have the solution. I think the what is that, Abu Dhabi or Dubai or the United Arab Emirates, let me put it that way, they've got business interests all over the world.
I was going to say,
for them, it's business.
Surely it's not because they care about African lives.
No. I don't think they care. They've got business interests. Wherever there's conflict and they've got business interests, they will try and mediate. But also to look good. They've done it in the Ukraine saga. They've done it in the South Sudan. They've done it with Israel and Palestine. You know, it's not the first time that the sheikh, I don't know the full names, but the sheikh and the of Doha or of Qatar has engaged people diplomatically to say, come and sit and let's talk. The irony of this whole thing is that African leaders, whether it's AU, whether it's regional economic bodies, RECs, have failed to can bring Kagame and Tshisekedi Cholopolo. You know, his name is Chilopoli or Chilopolo or something like that. His surname.
Sure.
Tshisekedi actually is the name.
Sure.
To bring them to the table. I mean, after failed attempts by various African leaders.
But that was my question, though, that the last we checked, there was supposed to be a meeting in Rwanda.
Yes.
In Angola.
Yeah, in Rwanda, yes.
Yeah, and Tshisekedi said, I'm not going there.
Exactly.
And the M23 also said, we're not going there.
No, the M23 actually went to the
did
meeting.
they go?
They did go to the meeting.
Okay.
And when they arrived there, the two role players, which is Rwanda and DRC presidents, in Doha, they took a flight to the opposite direction. And actually, that's a slap on M23's face. And you remember what I said, you cannot have these talks. You cannot have any peace there if you don't include all the parties that are involved in the process.
Sure.
You understand? So the meeting that was facilitated, that's why they call it the Nairobi-Luanda Accord.
Sure.
They are trying to match the two agreements that were reached in Nairobi before, then the Luanda facilitated by the Angolan president. So this was the third round of now a meeting of Luanda-Nairobi Accord that was supposed to take place. And remember, it was preceded by what? By what happened in Dar es Salaam in February, where the EAC, East African Community, and SADC met and facilitated, a troika, a summit in Dar es Salaam in February for the two people to meet. But again, Tshisekedi did not show up in Dar es Salaam.
Sure.
And now everybody had agreed that we can't leave M23 out. Let's go and meet in Rwanda. And these two gentlemen, these two presidents decide, okay, now the Sheikh of Doha has said they should meet in Qatar. And then they go and meet there. And apparently they've agreed to work together. But you know what is funny about this whole thing? It's how few months back Tshisekedi had vowed and said he will only meet with Kagame in hell.
In heaven. Or
No, yeah, in hell, not in the world. And there they were sitting in the Middle East in a hotel room together. Look, for me, Tato,
well, listen, if we're going to be technical about it, if you've been to the Middle East, and you step outside the aircon, if hell is hot, it's that hot.
That's hot.
So it's come to pass.
I've never been to the Middle East or to hell, so I can't comment to that. I don't know how hot. I've heard that the Middle East is hot, but look, for me, it's progress. As long as I don't care who facilitates the peace talks, I don't care who made these two gentlemen to meet. But on the other hand, something has happened on, again, President Mbeki is back into the picture, which gives me a little bit of comfort. Again, during the past of this week, when the two gentlemen or two presidents were in Doha, President Mbeki met with President Kabila, Joseph Kabila, the former president of the DRC. They met in Joburg this past week.
Yeah, he's studying here, Mus.
Oh, I didn't know that
he's
part.
studying. He's gone back to school.
Oh, that's great. I saw he's got a nice beard and he looks like the old teacher in karate movies.
No, he's got that Shaolin jab.
Yes, the Shaolin jab.
But he's also got bags under his eyes, almost like, the presidential stress. Because you think after the presidency, he'd have less stress on his face.
No, Fresh, remember, he's still a politician.
Yeah.
He's still an activist.
Sure.
And as young as he is, I always tell people the political mileage, the age of politicians, it differs from us. We are in our early 50s.
Sure.
Politicians in our early 50s, they don't look like us.
Absolutely
they look
not.
60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So you add 15 to 20 more years. But what was interesting is that President Kabila, the former president of the DRC, who said before he went to Namibia, they met with President Mbeki in Namibia. I think it was during the funeral of or a ceremony to honor the late departed President yes. Yeah. And President Mbeki invited him to come to South Africa and to have conversations with him about the situation in the DRC. The most important thing is he's recommending that in support of the DRC, the old accord that was the Sun City Agreement that brought peace in the DRC should be re-implemented because it did bring peace for quite a number until he left office. Until his political party was defeated by Tshisekedi's party in, I think, 2019. And that's when the problem started again. And he says, look, the blueprint is there. Let's not reinvent the wheel. But what I like and I took from President Joseph Kabila was when he said he is busy rallying the civic organizations in the DRC, including the M23, political parties, opposition parties, as well as churches and other organizations of interest, domestically to resolve the Democratic Republic of Congo problems must be resolved by Congolese. One of the interesting questions that he was asked was, what do you think? Do you think President Tshisekedi, Felix Tshisekedi, is a problem? And he said there's one answer to that. He's the problem and also the solution.
Exactly.
And I think it's fair. You know, one of the smartest things that this gentleman had said, and I think that's what we should be reflecting on, by stating that the Congolese cannot keep on pointing fingers at other people. They point fingers at Mbeki, at Kagame, at Belgium, at EU. Yes, we are contributors to the problems in the DRC as external factors, but they allowed us into the Congo, and that's where the first problem begins. They must first look at the Congolese problems internally and domestically and unite as a nation to say, let's keep these foreigners out and find a solution to the problems we are faced with. I will forever insist that, you know, the 2002-2003 Sun City Accord, some of us laid the foundation for that. Between 2000 and 2001, I was in Kigali. And that document brought peace. I'll support Joseph Kabila to say, let them try that. It worked. But never go into any negotiated political settlement without including all the parties on the table.
No one should feel left out.
Nobody should, no matter how small or less important you think they may be.
Yeah.
And actually that's becoming the problem, you understand? Now the EU and the US and others who are now have flipped the coin are starting to blame Kagame or isolate him. That's for their best interest. That's for the interest of what is their best is the minerals that they are facing there. Because there's been rumors that Paul Kagame or Rwanda has been taking minerals from Goma.
Yes.
And sending them to the EU in exchange of arms and money and all those things. Now the EU has turned against Kagame because they are realizing that the agreement that is about to be reached between Tshisekedi and the Americans is going to keep them out. Which I'm very uncomfortable with that. The argument of minerals exchange for military help. I think wherever Americans are, we know what they do.
Absolutely.
We know when they leave that place, they will live with the minerals, but the DRC will be finished.
And often, you know, how the US operate is if it's in our interest, whatever that interest looks like, we will come in, but we will make sure we leave it hollowed out.
Yeah. I
mean, Iraq right now is a mess. They came in, they decimated, they took what they need to take, they left.
And this is
Afghanistan is the same situation.
This is the risk that Tshisekedi is doing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he doesn't know Israel, he can't read, you know. The Americans will come and protect him. No other force will take Americans up if they move in there.
Yeah.
They will take the minerals. They will leave people, dead bodies. They will leave the country completely destroyed. And I don't know if President Felix Tshisekedi wanted this to happen under his watch.
I don't think they'll leave it destroyed. I think they will successfully prop him up. But at what expense, though?
And this is one part that America plays it very well. We may hate them, we may not like their ways, but they put American interests first.
Absolutely.
At whatever cost, they don't care. Listen, and this is where we should not play into the hands of external forces. But again, Fresh, this has exposed how the African Union and other bodies. That's why the likes of Burkina Faso are isolating them and leaving these bodies, because it's actually exposing how useless they are, how toothless dogs they are. They can't even engage or manage one of them. I mean, the DRC Congo is part of SADC. Excuse me. However, Tshisekedi can defy, a 15-member state SADC and just ignore instructions and all that. And we still sit here and say, we want to help them. We are sending our forces there. I mean, various countries have lost lives, have lost their budgets. Understand? And at the moment, this has even caused conflict in South Africa. I don't know if you saw the economic freedom fighters, they tabled a motion in parliament that the president must have a commission of inquiry into our summit DRC mission.
Yeah, sure.
And guess who supported them? The UDM led by Deputy Minister of Defense, Bantu Lumisa. Angie Mutsaka is opposing that. The minister is opposing. Her deputy is supporting the whole thing as political parties. So the EFF has caused a storm actually in parliament. Now they've got one of the members of the GNU who's a deputy minister supporting the proposal that what were we doing there? How much were the cost? Fruitless expenditure, loss of life. Are the reports honest?
And you know what doesn't help? Because we've been carrying on about peacekeeping, supporting SADC, supporting the UN. And then a general comes in and says, we were there to neutralize the situation.
Yes.
If you're a peacekeeping force, who are you neutralizing?
Again, we took sides. Remember, we had that discussion.
Yeah.
They should never fool anybody. We, in this peacekeeping mission in the DRC, and we had two, remember, the UN one and the SADC one, we took sides because we were taking sides to neutralize the M23 in defense of the DRC government. So nobody must come and try and fool people or lie to people. South Africa took sides there. Or SADC took sides. They took sides of the DRC government. And you can't be a peacekeeper when you take sides. But I think the EFF, I don't like commission of inquiries. Really, I think it's a waste of money and time because nobody ever gets charged. Nobody ever gets prosecuted. It will be a report that's piling up dust. We know we'll spend hundreds of billions of rands in this mission. Then what?
And sadly, statistically, the recommendations will be ignored.
Exactly. And remember, the recommendations are not binding.
Yeah.
They recommend to the head of state or the person who commissioned the inquiry to say you may prosecute, like the Zondo Commission. You take this thing to the NPA to prosecute. It never happens. Actually, what would happen, and again, we must protect that this thing started long before her. So you can't even, you see where it becomes politically a problem.
She was handed a poison chalice. Now she must explain why there's poison in the chalice.
Yes, you know that. So that's another challenge
Yeah.
of cadre deployment and changing ministers. I don't say ministers must remain forever in position, but now you must go and look at who were the people who took the decision based on what did they consult properly. Lack of consultation in South Africa, it's a problem. Understand? We have a president and a minister of defense deciding to go and send our armed forces to another country. Did they consult with us? Those are our forces. And somebody asked me, Botsang, how do you expect the president to consult with the public? I said, no, we have representatives. Go and table this matter in parliament.
Yes.
Let it not be an executive decision because parliament represents the people. Those 400 bench warmers, let matters of national interest be tabled before them because they are there to represent us or to misrepresent us in some instances.
Sure.
But that's how the government should consult the people. They must table matters of national or international interest in front of the parliament.
Sure.
Then we can move on as a nation.
Absolutely. Listen, since we are outside of the country, let's stay outside of the country. Kagame of Rwanda,
Yes.
has expelled the Belgian embassy.
I laughed. I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
What is happening?
It goes back. Remember earlier on, I spoke about the EU is isolating Kagame
Yes.
at the moment. First of all, remember the history of Rwanda and Belgium is not a nice history. The Belgians, actually, I can say it without flinching, that the Belgians were responsible for the genocide. Them and the French in Rwanda, the 1994 genocide.
Sure.
It was the Belgians. They occupied the DRC, they occupied Rwanda, they facilitated the genocide, they funded it.
And they did a number in the DRC.
Exactly.
And then the Belgian king has the audacity to say, yeah, no, we are sorry.
Leopold. Talk about Leopold.
We regret. No, listen, 2022, 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
3 years ago, Belgium's king offered a regret.
Oh, the regret offer.
But
Yes.
there'll be no reparations.
Yeah. Now Kagame, having a Belgium, after Kagame chucked them out, especially on the Goma area of the DRC, it's an open secret that Rwanda is occupying that area, not the M23, the Rwanda forces. They started rallying other EU countries like France and the Netherlands and others to try and take Kagame to the ICC, International Court, Criminal Court, to charge Rwanda or Kagame for genocide in the DRC and so forth. That's why President Kagame woke up, and the rally worked because other countries, like even the UK, which is not part of the EU, they started talking about isolating Kagame. They're even refusing to pay. You remember the illegal immigrant fee that Kagame took a year or two ago?
Yeah, they bring them here.
And they will keep them for you.
Yeah.
They are refusing to pay for that. Now Kagame's government has to fund and take care of those British illegal immigrants who are sitting in detention centers.
Or they'll just fly them back.
You understand? So the Belgians' lobbying of the EU and the UK was starting to gain momentum or traction. And he decided, I'm going to expel them. You know, like the Trump style, he gave them 48 hours to leave and close their diplomatic offices. Look, I think it was a good move. I don't say it's the right move. I think it was a good move for Rwanda, because then you don't have all the spies lying around and monitoring you. Maybe they will even abduct him and take him to the ICC. You understand? So I think it's playing a safe net kind of a thing. This happens on the eve of a president, what is Trump? Proposing to meet Tshisekedi over the DRC. Understand? So Trump is saying to Tshisekedi, I will help you to take everybody out if I got signing rights to your minerals. I'll even take Kagame out. And the EU is saying, Kagame, we are isolating you. We even want to take you to the ICC to charge you criminally. So I think he is reacting to that. But now Kigali has severed diplomatic relations with Belgium.
And as would be expected, then Belgium revenged and returned the favor and said Rwandan diplomats are not welcome.
Look, it's tit for tat.
So now what?
No, that would have happened. Look, they closed their diplomatic. We have done it at South Africa when we severed our ties years back under President Motlanthe with Kigali. So that's what happens. When you expel first of all, you normally expel the ambassador.
Sure.
But in this instance, Kagame or Kigali said, everybody out.
Lock, stock, and barrel. You have
everybody
48 hours to get out.
And then they did it very well under the Vienna Convention to say, we'll take care of your assets,
yes,
your houses and furniture, everything. That will be protected and being taken care of. But everybody 48 hours out of the country.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me? I don't know if you know our history very well in SADC. You know President Gebuza of Mozambique, the previous president of Mozambique, in the cabinet of Samora Machel, when Mozambique became independent, he was the youngest minister of what do you call it? He was the youngest minister of President Samora Machel.
Yes.
In 1976 or 78. You know what was his job? They used to call him Minister 2024.
Yeah.
His job was to tell the Portuguese colonialists to leave within 24 hours, and they could only take 20 kilograms. Whatever they have, take whatever you want, as long as it's not more than 20 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
That was his job. That was he was Minister Gebuza in Samora Machel. I always say I want that job in South Africa can help those who want to move to America. I'll give them 24 hours and 10 kilograms to leave the country. Nothing else. Yeah, so So Kagame did the same thing. He brought it in. He said, you've got 48 hours, pack whatever you can pack and get out of my country. So they returned the same. The Belgians, it was obvious they were going to do the same thing. So they expelled the Rwandese from Belgium as well. But it's tit for tat. It's not revenge. That's how it works.
Absolutely. Speaking of expulsions.
Yes.
And
don't expel me from the studio.
And being a PNG or a persona non grata.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool.
Yes.
Of South Africa. He was in Washington, and then he appears on a online panel discussion, and he expresses his opinions on Trump and the fact that there's a white supremacy climate prevailing, and that there's almost a fear of, if we're not careful as white folk in the US, we will become a minority. And that's the direction of the conversation, basically.
Yes.
One of my favorite subjects when I was a law student was political science. And the little political science that I learned in my 2 years at law school was that the minute you become an ambassador, it doesn't matter what your opinion is of your host nation's leader, you keep quiet.
Yeah. Or you don't keep quiet. You find a better way of saying it.
You're diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic way, yes. As people always say, being a diplomat, it's actually being in a position to can tell somebody to go to hell.
In such a way that they look forward to the trip.
In such a way that they look forward to the trip. Yeah. And that's what Ambassador Rasool lacked.
Given his experience, do you think he knew what he was doing and he's exasperated because he's been reaching out to Washington and we've been blue-ticked, as it were? Despite the fact that President Ramaphosa says you can't blue-tick South Africa because they need us as much as we need them.
Tato,
because something says to me he was exasperated and it was if I die, I die.
When you say, and I'm going to be very brutal and open about this.
That is why you're here.
When you say, and I've been asking a lot of people, I challenge Professor Friedman, the former Wits professor, on some article to say, when people keep on saying somebody is an experienced ambassador or diplomat, what are you talking about? What is experienced?
As in, you should know better, given that it's not your first rodeo.
Yeah. Now, let me take you through the processes.
Yeah.
And in whatever I'm going to say, nothing against Ambassador Rasool.
Yes.
I want to focus on our system.
Sure.
And I've shared platform with him. I was on TRT and BBC Africa the other day with him. I do not think where I'm sitting, Ambassador Rasool is an experienced or seasoned diplomat.
Okay.
Number one, he has had one political posting, not diplomatic posting.
Oh, yes.
Diplomatic on paper, because you had a red passport and you were in Washington. But he was coming out of being a failed or a lost, what do you call it, premier of the Western Cape.
Ah, yes.
You understand? We should start there. Number one, I've always said to people, there's a difference between a career diplomat and a political diplomat. There is nothing wrong in appointing people politically as diplomats, particularly as ambassadors.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong. It happens all over the world. In South Africa, Madiba administration, Mbeki administration, Zuma administration, we have seen them appointing leaders like Kata Selaka from the PAC, the former SG of the PAC to Malawi. We have seen the likes of Mbulelo Rakwena from Azapo to
Tony Leon.
And so it is common practice.
Yes.
The problem becomes when you take, and this is why I have a problem with political deployees who are not subjected to the processes and training that can cook and mold them to prepare them for the posts.
Sure.
And that's where the problem is. Ambassador Rasool, one should go and check and ask, did he ever go to diplomatic training that ambassadors are subjected to?
Sure.
Even if they are not career diplomats, there's a crash course, short course. Did he?
I haven't done that course, and I know better.
The basics.
And I learned the basics when I was an 18, 19-year-old.
Now, when he was appointed the first time, and I'm going to say something that I'm privy to.
Yes.
Having have served at Dereko for 13 years.
Sure.
But I still talk to people then. do you know how did Ambassador Rasool got the position the first time under Obama administration? Barack Obama, now I'm saying this with confidence, and people can go and check the records. After Ebrahim Rasool lost the elections to the DA in the Western Cape, Barack Obama was the senator in the US. He was visiting South Africa during his campaign to be the president of the US. The Barack Obama office or what, they wrote to our protocol office to request that Senator Barack Obama is visiting South Africa, and therefore can they allocate protocol services for him. Now, our foreign policy or our protocol procedures, they do not accommodate senators.
Oh, yes.
Only presidents or maybe deputy president, depending if the deputy president is here on behalf of the president. So our protocol office, correctly so, our Jericho, denied those services to the then Senator Obama. Okay? The African National Congress, being kind to Obama at that time, with good relations with the Democrats and Obama, the senator, they decided to take Mr. Rasool, the former premier of the Western Cape, to accompany President Obama when he was doing his rounds in South Africa.
Okay.
And they started building a rapport. They started building a good relationship. When Obama came into power, because of the personal relationship the two gentlemen had built, it looked normal that South Africa will appoint Mr. Rasool to be the ambassador to Washington. Okay. That is the history that is not being told. And that's how Ambassador Rasool became South Africa envoy to Washington.
So in the bigger scheme of things, he's not a diplomat.
No, he's not. But anyway, probably he went for the cause.
Yes.
Now, 10 years pass. In these 10 years, Obama becomes the president. Then Donald Trump, and this is where we are today. When President Obama was the president the second term, which is 8 years now, President Trump comes and rises and challenges President Obama in the US. Then Ambassador Rasool now, no longer Mr. Rasool, Ambassador Rasool, way back then, 8 years back, started attacking Donald Trump, calling him names, racist, in doing what? In supporting his friend,
the incumbent.
Yes. And Trump, Obama was not contesting because he had completed 2 terms.
Yes.
But he was backing Clinton's
Hillary.
He was backing Hillary. So look at how Ambassador Rasool is overstepping.
Sure.
You understand? He started backing, attacking Trump years back.
Sure.
So this thing that Ambassador Rasool did last week, it's not new.
Okay, so he's right on brand then.
Yes. 2 weeks ago, I saw an article with 17-page document which the CIA and the FBI went to present to President Trump on the conduct and the behavior of Ambassador Rasool in the last 10 years. So they had a run on him. How didn't we know as a nation? And this is where I have a problem. How come as a nation did we not know what is Ambassador Rasool's position towards, one, Trump, the person.
Yeah.
The person. Understand? 2, most of us were pro-Palestinian. As a nation, we know South Africa, we are pro-Palestinians. But again, the way he conducted himself towards the ICC, it's okay for me and you and him when he's in South Africa to talk about the ICC, the ICJ, Israel, Hamas, and Palestine. Once you become a diplomat, that ceased to happen, Tato.
Yes.
And I said, that ceased. He should have known. I asked somebody at Delco, when Ambassador Rasool was appointed last October, you remember I spoke about it here. I asked somebody at Delco to check for me this week. Did Ambassador Rasool go for a refresher's course around November last year before he departed to the US? And let me tell you, the refresher's course is not to train you how to be a diplomat.
Yeah.
It's to also update you, brief you on the current status of relations between South Africa and the US, so that when you get in there, you are very careful of the circumstances. That's, yes, we've been an ambassador to Washington 10 years back. It's after 10 years.
A lot
has changed.
There might be different protocols now.
And you had Trump for 4 years. You had Biden for 4 years. Now you are going back. That's one element. Now this is where protocol and what you call it, and diplomacy comes in. Another thing that we did wrong as a country, Tato, in between 2002 and 2004, at Derek, it was called Foreign Affairs that time, we developed, and I'm saying we, carefully, we developed a policy on how to send our ambassadors out, actually diplomats. There were two critical things that we put in the policy. One was that we must post people in January and in June. I'll tell you why I'm mentioning this.
Sure.
Why in January? There were two major reasons. One, the ANC January 8 statement and the ANC Lekotla, because ANC was in government, it was influencing our foreign policy. So we'd have to wait for that, then adopt that into government. So when the ambassadors leave in January, they leave with clear matching orders. What is our foreign policy towards a particular country? That's the first reason. The second reason, it was also to align it administratively. Like people don't leave March, April, May throughout the year. And why? It was disrupting families. South African school starts in January.
Yeah.
Most other countries, it's in July.
Sure.
So it was making sense for diplomats to be posted in January or in June so that you don't disrupt family life.
Yeah.
That policy, I'm told, it was thrown outside the window. To do what? To accommodate cadre deployments.
Okay.
Understand? Now, when did Ambassador Rasool go to the US? End of November, beginning of December 2024.
Sure.
Wrong. Why am I saying that? Americans had elections around October, if not November, if I'm not wrong. By the 1st of December 2024, we as South Africa, and let's leave the poor Ambassador Rasool out, we knew, President Ramaphosa, our intelligence and Dereko, they knew that there's an incumbent president in the US who's taking office on the 20th of January. We sent President Rasool, who's anti-Trump, who has been vocal about it for many years, not now, not last week.
Very anti-Trump, very pro-Palestine.
Yes. We sent him a month before Trump takes office to the US. Why did we do that? Why were we under that pressure? Where were the presidential advisors? Why were we rushing for that? You understand? It has happened that in Dereko, when it's time for you to go back home, they will extend you for 2 to 3 months to let simmering things to settle down in the country. It was clear to us that President Trump is going to take over office. Do you know something that happened very badly? And I'm bringing this to the attention of the people. Do you know that President Biden only received the credentials of Ambassador Rasool on the 13th of January 2025?
Imagine.
7 days before President
On his way
Trump's-
out. He's on his way out.
Why did we do that? I'm not asking the Americans why did they accept it. Biden was fighting Trump. That's their problem. I'm talking about us as a nation. Why did we send Ambassador Rasool to the US on the eve of the inauguration of a new president? And we did a very boo-boo there and a big plan. We should have not done that, especially that we know what is Ambassador Rasool's position towards President Trump. I would have not done that if I was a head of state. Those who are saying, no, we must show America we are brave, we are proud. Let me tell you, the art of diplomacy says when you enter into conflicts, diplomatic conflicts, negotiations, and you assert your position, at what stake? At what cost?
Sure.
What is at stake?
And are you reading the room?
Are you reading? We fail to read the room.
Because often the fact that but we are what's the phrase?
Sovereign state.
We're sovereign state. Unfortunately, your sovereignty often doesn't count in some of these matters.
It does, yes.
Because if I decide that, yes, you're a sovereign state, so you as a sovereign state can now go be sovereign there by yourself.
Yeah.
And we want nothing to do with it.
And that's what Trump has done. If you look at it, let me show you what another sad part of it. President Trump took office on the 20th, ceremonial 20th of January. From the 21st of January 2025 to today, President Trump or any member of his administration, they haven't met a single South African diplomat or delegation, not even one. Their position, they may be arrogant, they may be rude, they may have their own reasons why they are doing that, but is it not sending a message to us? What is the Trump administration doing? Instead, they go and they meet the opposition, the DA, at whatever level, AfriForum, Solidarity. Now they are even planning to meet the Cape Zit. What do you call this Western Cape gang that is trying to...
They want the Western Cape to be its own...
its own territory, its own state, you understand? You can see what the Trump administration is doing, but people cannot come. Look, if you want to be diplomatic and follow the protocols, follow the conventions properly. But if you want to go and be what Afrikaners call a hard hat, be that. You can't have the mixture of both. You know what is the Trump administration doing to us? It is actually exposing us as a nation that this whole thing of, this whole thing of South Africa not taking sides, silent diplomacy, delayed diplomacy, it's actually exposing us that we must take a position. When you go into a diplomatic negotiations or table and another country positions or table their demands, nothing is stopping them from doing that. It is how we react. And I said, apparently the Americans are talking about our relationship with Palestine and Hamas because they see Palestine as Hamas. Our relationship with Russia, BRICS, the expropriation bill, and many other things, as if we are not a sovereign state. Are we in a position to tell the Americans, keep your America, we'll keep our South Africa? If we take that position boldly, we must actually be prepared to suffer the consequences of doing that.
But remember what I said the other day, though, that we need to start proceeding as if there's no AGOA. I even said to you last week, why does it seem like these people? Yes. I understand, keep diplomatic ties open and whatever else. But like Minister Mosoledi said, there's clearly a crisis on the horizon.
Yeah.
And we're going to sit here and keep saying to next door, hey, we're still here.
Yeah,
or have your one eye on next door, but get on with it.
Look at how Russia and China and India, which are the major members of BRICS, are doing it. Modi is in America now, engaging America on bilateral, but he's not neglecting his BRICS situation.
Yeah.
China is going on with their life despite the sanctions and the tariffs imposed. Russia itself, is talking to who's this guy, to Trump, about the war in Ukraine. They are focusing on they've put their demands on the table. You understand? We are failing to do that. This thing of let's wait, let's not rush, let's delay.
But what table?
It doesn't work.
But what table are we going to put anything on when they're not even opening the door?
First, you have said it right now. Keep on knocking, but go on with your life. Sure. We cannot look what South Africa did. Some people are saying it was a bad thing to do. Last week, President Ramaphosa met a delegation from the EU to discuss, among other things, the exchange of coal, the climate exchange, and all those things that the EU is imposing on us. And we know that the EU position is completely the opposite of the American position. So we actually irritated the Americans more by this climate change, this whole thing. And remember, they've withdrawn their money there, they've withdrawn their membership. They are saying we'll ban coal, we'll ban fuel, we'll do whatever we want in our country. You can't come and tell us not to do that.
Because we're the mighty US of A. Who's going to stop us?
Now, we should either accept that America is mighty and we need them, or we should put our so-called sovereign position in front of this giant and say, America, leave us alone, we'll go on our own life.
Yes.
You can't have double standards. If somebody has taken a bold statement, the USA is punishing South Africa. It's clear for me.
Sure.
The USA is hitting very hard at South Africa for various reasons.
And it is not going to change anytime soon.
Never. So we must
let's
have a
get
position.
on with it. Let's have a position and get on with it. I mean, the fact that even like fringe groups like the Cape Independence Advocacy Group are all of a sudden emboldened.
I call them a gang.
In fact, this is from Newsroom Africa. It's a post from X. The Cape Independent Advocacy Group says it intends to send a delegation to the US where it will raise funds and garner diplomatic support for its campaign to have an independent Western Cape.
Yes.
That time, them and their ilk are not even a quarter of the people in the Western Cape. So who are they representing?
They're representing the Western Cape as the piece of land. The issue here is not the numbers or the color of the skin or the what. The issue here, the issue is the white minority.
But that's what I'm saying.
Who are owning the prime land of South Africa, and Trump administration will buy into that. Fresh, you're talking about the numbers in South Africa. Look at the Trump administration. There's not even one single black person next to Donald Trump, the main core. There's one brown person, one yellow person.
No, his entire cabinet is white.
The wife of the deputy president is brown or yellow. That's all. It ends there. Trump is very clear. Anything that black or Arab. I don't want it next to me.
Sure.
Why are we not having clear positions? And he is doing it undiplomatically or in the Trump kind of diplomacy. Guys, I have a problem in us crying when a man behaves the way he wants to behave in his house.
Yes.
You understand? Why can't we behave the way we want to behave in our house? I'll tell you why. Because we don't own this country. We are not independent. We don't own the land. I was listening to Minister Mantashe the other day, saying if America wants, we'll keep our minerals. And I'm asking myself, what minerals, Gwede? What actually America or its companies own minerals in this country more than me and you, more than the black people. So if we say we'll keep our minerals, which minerals, when minerals are owned by international conglomerates, they own the mines, they own the economy. You understand? How many American people, their son, Hunter Biden, is in South Africa now, playing golf and hunting
And
everything.
that's annoyed the Donald.
Yeah, they've withdrawn security. You know what they did? Sorry, we are departing from our topic. They didn't just withdraw the security of Hunter Biden, is the son of
Joe Biden.
of
Yes.
Joe Biden. They even told South Africa, you can give them your subs, but we are not requesting you to do that. So if you give them your subs to protect him, it's your own business, it's your own. You see the trap they are putting us on. They want to see if we are going to disrespect the diplomatic protocols, because we can't provide security to a VIP if the country that is sending him or whatever that is coming from, because he's obviously traveling with a diplomatic passport.
Yes.
We can't provide security that without the request of that country. But you know, this South Africa-US relations stuff, what is making, and the thing is, I don't understand what did our intelligence do. First of all, the other issue is the American ambassador left months ago. Last month, me and you, we had a conversation in passing. The chargé d'affaires at interim, the acting ambassador, resigned.
Yeah, she left.
Yeah, resigned. I heard she didn't even leave the country. She stayed here for holiday because it looks like she's not in the good books of the Trump admin. So actually, the USA has no diplomatic relations with South Africa at the moment. They've got a mission because there's no head of mission. There's no deputy head of mission. Now we are in the same situation. Technically, South Africa and the US have no diplomatic relations because both countries have no ambassadors. They don't have deputies. They are not talking to each other. They don't even want to meet. I mean, if you find Donald Trump refusing to take a call of President Ramaphosa, what more can we do, Tato? What more? What more?
We can put the spanner in the works
Yes.
by continuing not to read the room and carrying on with renaming Santin Drive Laila Khalid,
Yes.
who's a Palestinian civil rights activist,
Yes.
and piss them off even more, because now the embassy will be on number one, Laila Khalid. What are your thoughts?
I thought that was silly of the Americans. On a serious note, I think that was very silly. This is our land, this is our country constitutionally. If we want to rename the street, and if they want to move their, not their embassy, their consulate, the US consulate,
Yes, the consulate.
something.
Yes.
If they want to move, let them move it. It's their choice. They can't tell us not to rename or to change whatever we want to change culturally because their consulate is sitting there.
But are we poking the eagle, proverbial poking the eagle, doing that though? Or is it a coincidence?
It has nothing to do with the Americans. It's a coincidence that we want to rename Santin Drive the way we renamed Winnie Madikizela Mandela Drive, what it used to be called,
William
Nicol. I mean, we have renamed quite a number of streets. But if Americans are going to obviously look at it as if we are poking them, as if it's an attack on them because they are anti-Palestine, you understand? And they want to bomb Palestine and finish it and turn it into a resort.
An Arab Riviera.
Yeah, but again, are we going to always check the coast, test the waters if we want to make domestic decisions because we are afraid of the big brother? America is not afraid of making decisions. They have made serious decisions, about us in the last 8 weeks.
It's only been 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And there's still another 3 years and 10 months of this.
You understand? We must react, and people must not come and look. I'm one of the diplomats who I don't think I'll ever make it in America because I'll state my position. I will not insult the head of state, but I'm saying countries like Canada, as small as Panama, Mexico,
are standing up.
They're standing up and say, we will take a position as a sovereign state. What makes us not to do that? Other people are saying, we must not forget that America is punishing us for going to the ICC. You know, I have a lot of thinking to say, did we really have to go to the ICC? I love Palestine. I'm for Palestine. I think we should actually even send our army there.
And our position has always been clear on the Palestinian situation.
But having applied my mind in the last week, the Ramaphosa administration departed from the Mandela-Zuma Motlanthe process and Mbeki. They have taken a position, but none of them, I was just asking myself, none of them ever took, Netanyahu has been there from the time of Yasser Arafat. None of them either had the guts or thought of taking Israel to the ICC, then the ICJ.
Yeah, because there wasn't incessant bombing for a year. Now there is.
Okay, maybe we have a reason there. Then I sat down and I was asking myself, the Arab League, the immediate neighbors, the Arab League, why couldn't they do this? Why did it have to be us? We know we are called pickaninnies of the international world. We may think we are big. We may be big in SADC. But I think what is irritating the racist and the anti-Palestine people is that who does South Africa think they are? You understand? Who do we think we are? And I think that's somebody will say, yeah, but we must show our muscle in the international forum that we are a big country, can stand on our own. I'm saying that is okay for as long as we are prepared to live with the outcomes or the consequences.
Okay, so not only should we pick our fight, but whatever the consequences, we mustn't now play victim or still want to say, yeah, but you're being unfair.
Yeah.
And just deal with the consequences is what you're saying.
Exactly. You understand? So if you go into a battlefield and you we picked the fight to say, we'll take Israel head on. And we know, Tato, that the war in Gaza, it's the war of America and the Arabs. America want to have another military base there, not a resort. We know. So we should have known intelligently and diplomatically that picking up a war with Israel is indirectly picking up a war with the Americans. We should have known. And now, good, we did it. Good, we took them. Good, we won in the ICC. Then we went to the ICJ.
But has anything changed for the average Palestinian?
Things became worse, number one.
I was going to say.
For the Palestinians and for us. You know, even for us. Now we are dealing with the consequences. You cannot enter a battlefield, whether it's a legal battle, whether it's a military battle, when you are not prepared to suffer the consequences. It looks like we went there and we thought we are leaders of the world and the world is behind us. The Arab League was not even behind us. They started joining in late and supporting late. I've heard sometimes they supported financially. Why didn't Qatar, Iran, and any other country go there and do it? Then we support them. Why did it have to be us? And now we are suffering. I think we must bite the bullet and pay the price for acting in solidarity with the people of Palestine. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with us being cry babies.
Sure.
When we are being punished by pro-Israel people. America is arming Israel. America is funding Israel. The Jews all over the world, they are part of the Rockefellers who are finding the American politics. And it does not matter in America which party is in power. Whether the Democrats or the Republicans, their position on Israel is solid.
And you know, with Israel resuming the bombings of the Gaza Strip, 400 people already dead.
Yes.
And Netanyahu, now emboldened by the support he sees he's getting from Trump, boldly said, until everyone is released, you guys are going to see shit.
Yes.
In a nutshell,
yes,
is the way, that's what he meant.
And Trump is supporting him.
That we will not stop until you've released every single person. And that is what's going to happen.
My brother, I think we didn't read the room very well. I think we miscalculated as a nation. And this is where, and my other problem is, you know why some of these things are happening? It's centralizing our foreign relations in the presidency.
Sure.
Where there are no expertise.
Excuse me. Hey, guys, we're recording here. Come on, man. Jesus. And don't edit that out. We're recording here, guys. For fuck's sake, man.
Go busy today, man.
Like, what's going on? Hey, carry on.
So I was saying another challenge that we face internationally and diplomatically. It's and I did raise this sometimes last year when President Ramaphosa, actually before the GNU, started putting everything in the presidency.
Yeah.
That's a problem. When you start bringing intelligence and you've got a ministry that is dealing with youth and what affairs, then you started dealing with government administration and everything is centered in the presidency. Then people were saying Lamola is weak, and I'm saying President Ramaphosa is not giving Lamola a fair chance like he gave to Naledi Pandor. You understand? It is a problem that everything is centered in the presidency, and you don't have experts in the presidency to deal with such issues.
Sure.
For example, recommendations to ambassadors' appointment. By the way, you must remind me to the bear saying in my ear who's the possible ambassador there. Their recommendations goes to the head of state because the head of state actually appoints ambassadors like they appoint DGs and ministers, okay? But there's recommendations. These recommendations, they may come from Luthuli House or cabinet or friends or even business Now, when President Ramaphosa receives this recommendation, a list of 3 or 5 people, and there's Ebrahim Rasool there or whoever, then there's intelligence involved. That was supposed to say to the president, Mr. President, we don't think from the intelligence side, this is the president we should send there because of ABCDE. And you know what President Mbeki taught us in the diplomatic field in the past? To say, despite diplomatic officers' relations, we must build personal relationship with our counterparts.
Sure.
For example, when you have a police attaché at an embassy, that police attaché must build relationships with the police general or the police commissioner in that particular country. You understand? Personal relationships work. But the mistake we did was to put everything under the office of President Ramaphosa. One recent example, the American Secretary of State, who's their foreign minister, writes a note verbal to the South African embassy to expel Ambassador Rasool, who responded from South Africa to that. It was the presidency.
Yeah.
You understand? For me, that's not protocol.
Sure.
That's not what the Vienna Convention prescribes. The presidency, yes, appoints. The president appoints the ambassador. But what happened to our DERCO? What happened to our protocol? We have a chief of protocol. Okay, I'm told it's vacant. We don't have a chief of protocol in South Africa. Imagine, these are some of the problems.
But you're available. Surely you're saying Tumamina.
I wish. That's a nice post. The chief of protocol is now an ambassador to the AU. The post is vacant. We're in the middle of all this crisis, and South Africa does not have chief of protocol, which is a key position. Now you find Minister Ntshabeni in the presidency responding to that while we have a Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. So the lack of synergy in government departments, I do not know if the presidency listens to the intelligence forces of this country, because if I would have been in that position, I would have not sent ambassador. I would have known that the Americans are going to pick up FBI and CIA. They're going to pick up what Rasool had said before. We should have known. And this is where there's also glaring, gaps and lack of synergy and all those things. Who is advising the president? Does the president listen to the advisors? Because some of these things were supposed not to be happening. But again, we are going to pay a lot of many other, prices. We are even now allowing. I asked the other day when the deputy minister of the DA who went to the US, and they said he went there. I think it's Public Works, or if it's yes, I think it's the deputy minister of Trade and Industry, who formed part of the delegation of the DA that went to the US. The US accepted them. You know what I said to my former colleagues at Delco? Can you check which passport did this person use? Because that only it's enough for Ramaphosa to can expel. If they went there as the DA, they could have not used an official or a diplomatic passport.
Yes.
You are not allowed.
Because you're not representing the government.
You are not representing the government. They can go there. Somebody said, but ANC leaders went to Russia. I'm like, we must also check when Menon Vola Mokonyane led an ANC delegation to go and meet the Communist Party there and Putin. Did they use the official government passports or diplomatic passports or their private passports? If they use their private passports, the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, when he traveled to the US, on behalf of the DA and AfriForum to mislead the Americans to punish us. Which passport did they use to travel? But if President Ramaphosa is not going to take decisions on our behalf as a nation, to can tell people who are abusing their position and state resources and actually damaging the image of this country, then I don't know whom is he representing or leading.
Sure.
Because you can't, as a head of state, allow your cabinet members to do as they wish. Then remove them from that position. If it irritates the DA, let the DA be irritated. Understand? Let them be irritated. But the country is in deep shit. Pardon my French. I don't know why the others put it into French. But if the DA wants to do that, and they're messing up the country. The country is in deep shit now, fresh.
Yeah.
Because of the conduct of the Democratic Alliance, they even have a nerve to tell the ANC is pushing its policy in the GNU. They will talk to America and they are pro-Israel. They're very clear. The DA is very clear with their political position. Helen Zille, as the federal chair of the DA, says we will talk to America, we'll influence it more. They are waking the ground. They are doing what they want to do. And the government is failing to do government work. I don't want to say ANC work.
Sure.
There's government policies, there's government work, there's limitations on how far political activists can go. And this whole thing, what it has said to me, deployees of political parties into the civil service are disrespecting the laws of the country for the benefit of their political parties, and it has put us in a turmoil.
Sure.
And that's the challenge we are faced with. By the way, I'm not going to say stuff that may get him into trouble, but I'm being told confidentially
Yes.
that one of the three people that are on the list of the ambassador to the US is the Deputy Minister of Justice. He's an ANC member. He's a white guy, Andre Kotio, Andre Swanepoel, something like that.
Okay.
He's one of the people on the list, and he's number one on the list. I'm told.
So this is the same ministry that took Israel to ICJ. No, I'm asking.
I didn't see that one coming. No. He's a white person. Trump may talk
I'm happy for him, and I'm going to let him finish.
Yes.
But is that the guy from the same ministry that...
He can stand up and say it was before his term. He's
Okay.
new. You know, we took Israel there during Lady Pando's time. It was this minister of Derco, what is his name? Mr. Ronald Lamola,
Yes.
who was the minister at that time. It was not Andre Swanepoel and Mamuluku Kubai. But Americans are not going to look at it that way.
Yeah.
My suggestion to South Africa is do not rush. I don't think South Africa should rush. We have caused a lot of booby traps at the moment. Trump administration is pissed off with us. We should take a step back and wait. It is too early. Ambassador Rasool is landing today in South Africa. Let Ambassador Rasool land, debrief Mr. Ramaphosa, and we must take another month or so before we send an ambassador there.
And he's landing to a hero's welcome in the Cape. I saw a poster, I think it was a post by, is it Diko? Crusader Diko.
Okay.
Yeah, basically that welcome back.
Okay.
He's getting a hero's welcome.
No.
Should he be getting a hero's welcome?
Chato, look.
As a comrade.
As a comrade, they will welcome. And as people who believe America must be told nonsense,
Sure.
it's okay. They can welcome you. But again, I'm saying, can we look at the damage that has happened? Are we ready? If we say we are ready for that, we can show America a middle finger. It's okay with me. And I say, it's okay. But we should not, we are in the middle of a diplomatic skirmish with a sovereign state of America. They are putting, demands in front of us that do not make sense. Diplomatically, I will not rub salt or chili pepper into those wounds. I will find other ways of doing it. You understand?
Or rather, say nothing, but let's keep going.
Don't say anything about, let him debrief. Another person was arguing with me to say Ambassador Rasool represented South Africa's position. He represented the president. I'm like, I don't think so. I'll tell you why. He's the envoy of the head of state, of President Ramaphosa. Yes, give him. But why would he say things that Ramaphosa himself cannot say. You understand? When you say something as an ambassador, on paper, on record, you are saying your position of your country. You understand? But I didn't see the government defending him.
Sure.
If you look at it, the government, Minister Lamola simply said he doesn't think they will welcome him back. They will not argue with this, but he doesn't think the U.S. followed the convention to the core. You understand? Kato, you attack head of state. I'll tell you this with authority. You said you studied it at 18. You do not, as an ambassador in a sovereign state, attack a sitting head of state blatantly like that.
Yeah.
He did it before, years back. They were still investigating on how to treat him. And you go and you call him a racist. Yes, Trump may be racist. But I always say all white people are racist. They're just suppressing it or managing it. But you are in his country. It is his country. He's doing things the way he wants. Your duty is to manage relationships between the United States of America and the Republic of South Africa, and not the Middle East crisis.
And part of it includes bite your tongue where you need to bite your tongue.
You still haven't met this president. He has been refusing to meet you for whatever reason. For whatever reason, you worsen the situation. Maybe we did it purposefully. Maybe we wanted to go and insult America, show them the middle finger, and we'll send somebody else. Will they accept the next person? It's our problem. Will they engage? Will they talk to the next person? It's our problem. You understand?
And in a world riddled with diplomatic misunderstandings all the time, probably in the last 50 years, you can count on one hand ambassadors that have been
Declared persona non grata.
declared PNGs.
Yeah, you know that PNG is a very serious thing. You can be recalled, you can be asked to leave, but to declare you persona non grata, my God, I wonder which country is going to receive Ambassador Rasool as our next ambassador. You know, that can create a problem.
Because it's a mark now. It's a mark next to your name.
Whoever is going to receive him as an ambassador, Americans may punish that country.
Yes.
You know, Americans' minds are cuckoos at some stage.
No, and also because you're dealing with a president who's a man-child.
Yes.
He'll take it personally if you take Rasool to be South Africa's representative.
Will punish you.
Country.
Yeah, and I see Trump doing that. I see President Trump doing that. And so we should be careful. We should be able to manage and know whom we are dealing with.
Yes.
We cannot do things by the book, and when he does things by his book, then we have a problem.
Sure.
And for me, you know, I like when you use the words, we must read the room. We must read the situation in the world.
Sure.
Look at how Trump says, if he was the president, the war in Ukraine would have happened. He has just asked President Putin not to kill the soldiers that he has encircled in Ukraine, and he wants peace very soon. But he's not saying the same thing with Israel and Palestine. You can see the double standards.
Sure.
You know, for what? For his own personal interest and American interest.
Yeah, but also generally he doesn't care for brown lives and brown people.
Exactly. And we are stuck with that person for the next 4 years. Okay, it's no longer 4 years, minus 2 months.
I can almost bet you every cell in my body that if Palestinians were white people, the conversation would be different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The issue of racism, anti-Arab, anti-African, it's a clear thing. It's what the Arabs and the Africans are doing about it.
Yeah.
It's not what the colonialists or former colonizers and imperialists are doing about it. It is about us as what are we doing about it. Will insulting Trump help us? I don't think so.
On that note,
yes, sir.
We are out of time.
Thank you. I hope I'll still get a diplomatic posting after this conversation today.
To tell you the honest truth, I still have more faith in you than in a lot of people that might get appointed anyway.
Well, I don't think under this administration. It depends where. Send me to Kigali. I'll reopen that mission in a week.
Kind of you opened the first ever mission to Rwanda.
I was the first South African diplomat to Kigali.
Yeah.
I still have contacts with my people there. Send me there any day. Thank you, Trevor.
Where do we find you online, sir?
botsangm@gmail.com and 0824859100 on WhatsApp and @botsangm on social media handles.
And on that diplomatic note, we are done. Thank you for tuning in once again to Wow, What a Week. #PoliTricks with Fresh and Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. Coming to you from AMP Studios, downtown Jersey. We're part of the Africa Podcast Network. Email waw@africapodcastnetwork.com for any ideas, anything you want to share. If you want to be interviewed on this segment, you're more than welcome. As long as you're a political animal, we would love to have you on our set. Please remember to subscribe, to share, and most importantly, to like. Ding, 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 ding. Shout out Trevor and the crew at Pezulu Works for the cinematography, and also to Artist the Flo Fraser for all of our imaging. Gerezo Mudisakeng is our executive producer, and we are out of here. Have a great week, in spite of yourselves.